Okay, so coming into this project, we were supposed to look at the topic of whether or not we should save the wetlands. For me, coming into this project, it's a big part of my life. I come from the South, so my whole life, ever since I was a kid, you know, we walk out the back door and we'll go outside and go hunting and fishing in the swamp, or we'll go to the beach and go crabbing in the marsh. So the wetlands is a big part of my life, and I'd really hate to see it get destroyed because it's such a big habitat for deer, fish, everything, frogs, turtles. If the wetlands is destroyed, it's going to have a huge impact on all the ecosystems, not just that one ecosystem. Because if the swamps get destroyed, then the deer aren't going to have anywhere to live. They're going to have to move more into the fields. They're going to eat more of farmers' crops because they won't have as much food to find in the wetlands. So it really could affect everybody, not just the wetlands themselves.
So a little background information on the wetlands is that the wetland loss first occurred in the 50s to the 70s when the agricultural drainage occurred, which made a loss about 87% of the wetlands. There are many reasons as to why the wetlands have been destroyed over the years, including road building, mining, dumping, and much more. The problem has been identified over the many years, and people are stepping up by making different organizations to just raise awareness so that people are aware of what will happen when we lose these wetlands. The wetlands are also affected by climate change. For instance, global warming is a big factor on wetlands. So when the hot summers increase over the years, and even when there's hotter falls over the year, there will be loss of the wetlands and loss to the animals. It has always been to the public's attention in a way, but since we are now have more information about the wetlands, we are able to make new organizations present new information and get people aware of what is happening and what will happen to the ecosystem as well as the animals living in these areas.
A lot of studies have shown that the major causes of wetland loss are logging, agricultural development, industrial development, and just general pollution. For example, in the Middle East, oil spills are causing a lot of pollution in wetlands. Many of these wetland studies and projects in the U.S. have been funded by government organizations such as the Environmental Protection Agency and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Agency. So a lot of these studies are done by the government, but some of them are also done by universities such as NCSU. And there's also a global organization that's meant to help support the conservation of wetlands, and that's called the Ramsar Convention.
So from 1950s to 1960s, there were a lot of acts put into place to destroy the wetlands to create more land for people. And then starting in 1954, the Watershed Protection and Flood Prevention Act was created to prevent people from drilling and destroying these lands. 80,000 acres of coastal wetlands were destroyed from the years 2004 to 2009, which was an increase from 1999 to 2004, when 59,000 acres of coastal wetlands were destroyed.
Yes, I do think that we should save the wetlands.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Depends on yes or no question, yes.
I would say
Yes.
I am aware of through lots of research. Last year in environmental science, we learned a lot about the wetlands in Louisiana and how they are being destroyed, and in regards to the wildlife that live in the wetlands.
Yes. Yes.
No, I was not.
Oh, yes. Kind of.
Yes.
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 In regards to wildlife, like I said, that it's a lot of animals live in the wetlands, so it's their home. So without that, then there's a loss of life in regards to animals, and there are a lot of nutrients in the wetlands. So if animals aren't able to eat that nutrient, then they may not survive.
I'm not entirely informed on the full extent, but I mean, I know that every part of every ecosystem that's present, in the world is going to have some sort of functionality. So, not fully. I mean, they're pretty important. They house a lot of wildlife, a lot of flora and fauna that are very important to other ecosystems. But if you wanted me to write a 7-page paper, MLA format, double-spaced with references, probably couldn't do it.
I believe that wetlands are a home for many wetland animals, and they provide an ecosystem for those animals to thrive, and also they provide food and nutrients for them. Thank you.
I mean, I took environmental science, so I feel like I should know this, but I know they help prevent flooding in some places, so I guess that's all I know about it.
Well, it depends on which wetlands you're talking about, how it would impact the the surrounding environment.
We actually do because we're in conservation biology, and it helps with flood control,
Yep.
biodiversity, and it actually has intrinsic value for medicinal uses.
Yes, it aerates the soil so that it can contain more water, so that when it does flood, it's not just sitting there, it's actually like the soil's collecting it, so.
So what would happen if we lost a lot of our wetlands, or all of them?
Katrina, bad
Essentially.
hurricanes.
And there's this thing called global warming, and it helps with the nitrogen cycle and CO2. So it's only gonna, aggravate that more and
Yeah.
increase some really nasty effects.
So I think it's really interesting. If you look at all the interviews we did, universally across the board, for the most part, I think there was one girl that wasn't completely sure, but everybody for the most part said, yes, we should save the wetlands. And that's really interesting to look at, because if you ask anybody, nobody wants to go out and destroy ecosystems. Nobody wants to go cut down trees just for the sake of cutting down trees. Everybody wants the raw materials, the new places to live, because the coastal property is so much more valuable than inland property. So with the wetlands being largely on the coast, they're going to be at more risk of being destroyed than, say, a forest in the middle of the country. So it's really important that we spread the word to save the wetlands, because they are probably at the most risk of being destroyed.
Just touching on what Stuart said about one of our interviewees who would say yes or no to the question and even end with I'm not sure. Before doing this research on the wetlands, personally I did not know much about the wetlands. I would always say yes, I do want to save the wetlands. I know that the ecosystem, the animals it would harm, but I did not know personally what it could affect and how it is affected by climate change and just by global warming and everything like that. So it is interesting that when we did ask our interviewees what their opinion was, most of them just said yes out of just wanting to help, but they did not know the personal effects on what was going on.
And I think it's really important that if people would see the effects that they have by destroying the ecosystem, then they would really stop to think, maybe all that wood isn't so important. We can wait till later, or we can find another way to get the job done.
So we're hoping that this video helps everyone to learn just a little bit about what's going on with the wetlands and help us save the wetlands.
Because, if you save the wetlands, then alligators like this guy is actually a shark. Without saving the wetlands, alligators like this guy won't be able to eat me. So, save the wetlands.
Save the wetlands!